Welcome back, Mets'd listeners. We are here for episode number 41 of the Mets'd podcast. Of course, I'm your co-host, Draftneck Mark, here with James Shiano. Jeter had no range, talking about the Mets series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, if you're watching the video version, you might notice me and James are in completely different places than normal. I'm currently in Boston. Spent the weekend in Boston here, a little getaway trip with the girlfriend. James is out in Rhode Island, so somehow we both ended up in New England. Doesn't matter, though, because the Mets lost. The Mets got swept by the Dodgers, and they were some winnable games. There was also a game that was over before it started. So there's a lot to talk about, of course, with this series, as always. We're going to go through every single game, all the minute details and everything we want to talk about, as always. If you guys want to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, at Mets'd, YouTube channel, Mets'd Podcast. Listen to us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Wherever you find them, you'll be able to listen to us. And that's pretty much the spiel for this episode. Episode number 41, the Seaver episode. James, how we feeling?
I mean, in life or about the Mets? In life, I'm feeling okay.
How's life?
Not bad. Having a pretty good week, taking vacation with the family. My little sister, who's in bed right behind me, she's going away to college. Back to college. Now she's going away for the first time. It's not that big of a deal. She's going back to college the end of this week. So things are okay. I had a really good Cajun fish burrito last night. That's probably the highlight of my Sunday. What was the highlight of your Sunday?
Had some nice Italian food in the North End. Had a nice. Chicken parmesan. I mean, no parm because lactose intolerant, but
of course, just chicken and sauce.
Yeah, chicken sauce and spaghetti. It was fantastic.
It's great. Why not?
Now, in terms of the Mets, not feeling as great.
Really bad. Really awful.
I mean, we knew that we weren't going to win this series. I think, realistically, I think we knew it was going to be an uphill battle. But the fact that the first two games were so winnable, and then Game 3 was the classic Mets on Sunday Night Baseball, get embarrassed on national TV, and have a hitter pitch, it was just unfortunate.
Two hitters pitch.
Who's the second hitter that pitched?
Kevin Pillar came in for Drury. Must have turned it off by then.
I was done by that point. I was like, all right, I see Brandon Drury's on the mound. It's over.
Yeah, Brandon Drury hit Trey Turner with a knuckleball, and then Matt Beaty hit a home run that... to a place in Citi Field where I don't think I've ever seen anybody hit a home run since Adam Dunn back in 2012. Basically over the Shea Bridge. He almost cleared the Coke corner, just barely to the left of it if you're standing at home plate. And then Chris Taylor laced a double. I'm sure Max Muncy in the middle of that laced something else because he's the greatest hitter since Barry Bonds that I've ever seen. It was just a really overall embarrassing night. And I don't think that the results of this series was something that we didn't expect. I think our tone from Friday kind of warned it that it was at least highly possible. But just to watch it unfold in the manner it did felt like a series of successive punches in my stomach.
Yeah, we were talking about the roller coasters of the season. We were feeling good, national series, but that was a series we should have swept. This is also a series we probably should have at least won, though. So to get swept is a killer, especially when the Phillies had a rough series against the Reds. Braves are still playing good baseball. I think they took 2 of 3 from the Nats, but...
Which is that even good? Is that good baseball?
No, but I mean comparatively, they have a nice 2.5 game lead on us right now. So the Mets,
I think they might have swept, honestly.
The Braves.
Yeah, because Friday was the only game they were losing, and they came back to win.
Okay, so maybe that's what I'm thinking. But regardless, we're still 2.5 back of first place. Let's get started off though with Game 1 here because that's where the whole series kind of took a weird tone. Because as you tweeted out, Luis Rojas was on the radio and talked about this game being the most important game of the season. And then we see the lineup that they throw out there, which was an absolute joke. I mean, no Dom, no Conforto, which, whatever. I mean, in the terms of who played over him, it's bad. But no Dom, no Conforto, no Jeff McNeil. We went with Kevin Pillar, Albert Almora, and Brandon Drury, to which you scratch your head and go, so in the most important game of the season, Albert Almora and Kevin Pillar get in the same lineup, let alone in the game? That doesn't even make any sense. And Brandon Drury starts at second?
Yeah, it was a really... disconcerting hour and a half on the way of the game because the lineup dropped at about 4:15, which is early for a Mets lineup, which means that whoever was in charge of putting this team on the field was very, very steadfast in doing it. And it was even ironic because this came on the heels of everyone lauding the Mets for not having a punt lineup in Game 2 of the doubleheader on Thursday. We were all so happy, so relieved. The first time it looked like the Mets actually had their hearts set on winning consecutive games in a doubleheader. And again, I'm talking about gut punches in the intro. This felt like another gut punch. How can you act like we're going to beat the Dodgers when we have 3 backups in the order? Not like our hitters are world beaters this season anyway. Dominic Smith, Jeff McNeil, and Michael Conforto have not played up to the standards that we expect of them, not even to the lowest possible standards that we expected of them. And then to hear Luis Rojas on the radio with Joe and Evan. A little throwback, Joe Beningo being back in WFAN for a couple of days. You listen to them actually talk about sports for a second, let alone have it be Joe Beningo, but whatever. A welcome change. To say it's the most important game of the season, and then no one even asking about the lineup. I don't even think they were aware of the lineup, truthfully, because I couldn't believe that wasn't the first question asked by those guys.
The fact that we basically had Almora, who's an automatic out, Pilar, who's an automatic out, or whoever's catching for us is an automatic out, and Brandon Drury, who's been hot, but still, the Mets were, and the pitcher spot, the Mets were giving away 3-4 innings of this game and said we had no interest.
Especially also because the fact that Brandon Drury's hitting in the 3-hole. So it's not even like the Mets stacked. They're only 4 good hitters in the lineup together. They let Brandon Drury get in there just to really just break it up. Even just to get past that, when I was sitting in the stadium and I'm looking at the scoreboard and on Citi Field, you see the entire lineup, line by line, down the line. And I was staring at the Dodgers and then staring at the Mets, and then back to the Dodgers and back to the Mets. And I was just thinking to myself, how could this team possibly, on the right, score more runs than the team on the left? It seemed incredibly impossible. And I thought that it was going to be a struggle for us to hit soft-throwing left-handed pitchers. Buddy, was I not ready for a hard-throwing left-handed pitcher?
Well, yeah, I mean, you would think that if Matt Moore gives us some trouble, Julio Urias is really going to throw us for a loop, and he did. I mean, he's good. Yeah. You've been talking about it all year. Julio Urias is a really good pitcher, and the Mets didn't make it any harder than it needed to be. They were like, hey, Julio Urias, how about we give you an easier chance? You want to face Albert Almora, who is a disgrace to Major League Baseball players in terms of hitting? Go. I'd put it on a tee and have 3 fielders out there and say, try and get a hit.
The craziest thing about this entire lineup was the fact that the outfield configuration was Albert Almora in right field, Brandon Nimmo in center, and Kevin Pillar in left. If these guys are not playing center field defensively ahead of Brandon Nimmo, why in the God-forgiving fuck are they even on our roster? There's no reason for Albert Almora or Kevin Pillar to be on a Major League roster if we internally do not believe that they could play center field better than Brandon Nimmo. If that's the case, you should have gone out the trade deadline. You should have gotten Jorge Soler, Adam Duvall, Corey Dickerson, Eddie Rosario. I'm mostly just naming guys the Braves acquired just because they acquired a lot of guys who could hit because they had a gaping hole in their order, missing when Ronald Acuna Jr. tore his ACL. If you trust Brandon Nimmo to play center field indefinitely, you should be pulling in the beefiest, clumsiest corner outfielders who can just mash. And that's because that's what this team needs. And for some reason, that went completely over the Mets' head, the trade deadline.
Yeah, I don't know how you can feel comfortable having Albert Almora on a Major League roster. I really don't. I'm sure he's a good dude and probably being a little tough on him because he gets to play once every 10 days. But boy, oh boy, does he stink. He got option now, so he's not even on the Major League roster anymore, but...
And he is still a fine fielder, of course. And I figured that if these guys were all in the field together, he would be playing center because I perceive that he is the best outfielder of the bunch. But Brandon Nimmo's played above average center field this season in terms of OAA. Is that a perfect metric? No. But even from the eye test, watching basically every single Mets game inning for inning, I think he's done very well out there. It doesn't seem like there are many balls that he should have caught and that he did not. Actually, a few. The one he dropped last weekend against the
Phillies.
The Phillies. That was tough. But again, he banged into a wall. Things happen. He's been fine out there. And if you're making that decision internally that he's going to be flanked by Albert Almora and Kevin Pillar, those two simply should be off the roster. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That was what really, really had me upset on Friday afternoon.
That was not a great start to the series, and it showed as the offense was non-existent for the first 4 innings. And unfortunately for Tyler McGill, he's basically pitching from behind right off the rip. I mean, there was just no way the Mets were scoring, and going up against the all-star lineup that is the Dodgers, it's a super tough matchup.
Definitely. Before we even get into the game, just being in the ballpark, the Mets had Action Bronson, Bam Bam Baklava, Mr. Bronsolino announcing the team, just absolutely faded, eyes closed on the Jumbotron, throwing out the first pitch, a little high and outside, and he still gave a strike call. That was the one saving grace that actually we could have had to make me feel even a little bit okay about what was going on. But yeah, we stepped on the field. It was 100 degrees at 7 p.m., first pitch, 90% humidity at least. I'm dripping sweat in the stands. Every single person was. It was the hottest baseball game I've ever been to at night.
Wow.
Truthfully. And then the Dodgers come up, and Trey Turner has a 7-pitch at-bat right off the rip. And Max Muncy just annihilates a double down the line. I'm like, oh my God. This is really about to happen.
It's not going to be good. I mean, Tyler McGill can only do so much. And he really did keep the game close. He, ended up settling in kind of nice. He wasn't the reason why we lost this game by any means.
No, I think he was closer to the reason why we even stayed in it, because the Mets didn't get a hit for 4 innings. So while Tyler McGill, in 100-degree heat against an all-star lineup, was working his tail off, the Mets were completely non-competitive inning after inning. But while this is like the third time in a row we're describing McGill's start as like good, not great, keeping us in the game, like this was probably the best I've seen him pitch in this stretch where he's quote-unquote struggled. The one major adjustment was that the Dodgers seemed like completely prepared for his changeup, a pitch that seemed to catch the rest of the league off guard, which this might be a sign that that's going to change. But that double that Max Muncy hit in the first inning was lined 108 miles an hour, square over Pete Alonso's head off of that changeup, and I was like, shit, that's going to happen. There was only one whiff on it, the fewest he's gotten in an outing this year, and the Dodgers fouled it off 6 times. So again, this team was like super duper prepared for the pitch that McGill has been leaning on to get guys out the major leagues.
And I think, like you said, like in his rough stretch here, for the Dodgers to be the team that hits him, and for you to say that you still felt like the best about how he pitched, having them hit that changeup so well, I think that's like a good sign for McGill going forward. Obviously, like we've been pretty high on the guy. We seem to think that he's going to be a piece of this like rotation in the future, which is going to be really nice. But it comes down to the offense. If you can't score runs, you can't win games. And the Mets, Julio Urias is good, but he's not Walker Buehler. He's not this Cy Young caliber pitcher just yet. There's really no excuse to put out a bad lineup like that and then also just completely shit the bed when you do face the guy.
They didn't get a hit until the 4th inning. I'll say it again. It's really impossible to be excited about a game or a team who can't get a hit for innings on end. Jonathan Villar finally broke that stretch in the 4th, and the place erupted, standing ovation, just out of like the sheer relief that the Mets were not going to get no hit. Julio Urias was in such control on Friday night that he did that thing that only really great pitchers do, where he holds a pitch back and waits to show it off until like the second time through the order, or like the third time through in some cases. Julio Urias has a fastball, a changeup, and a curveball in his repertoire. All 3 pitches are very good, and he has elite command of all of the which. So he could be mixing them as much as he wants. But he only threw 6 curveballs in the first 2 innings, and he threw 23 over his last 3. He literally just waited and waited and waited, and the Mets kind of got a sense of the fastball and changeup, and he started breaking that curveball, and guys were swinging out of their shoes trying to get ahead of it, because his fastball sits about 95, 96. The changeup will sit like high 80s, low 90s, because he has such a live arm, and that curveball's coming in low 80s. Guys were lost out there, had no clue what was happening, and it was evident.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for our boy Tyler McGill hitting him, he probably pitches a complete game shutout.
He hit the IL with a calf contusion, and the irony is that was a major run that was scored. The Mets gave up 2 runs in this game after the Dodgers started hitting the ball for the first few innings. That really hurt in retrospect because of how they came back. This because Tyler McGill walked the 8-hitter, who I can't recall who it was at the moment. It might have been Bellinger, it might have been Chris Taylor, I don't know. And then Julio Urias up to the bunt, he smashed him in the calf. And then this allowed Trey Turner to hit a sac fly. And also, the way the Mets can't hit sac flies and the way the Dodgers hit sac flies this whole series was even the more frustrating, because it showed you just how far away you were from being a good, competent offensive organization. Damn, it pissed me off.
Yeah, the Mets were just like completely outclassed. Like the Dodgers, we knew are better than the Mets, like in pretty much every aspect of the game. We knew that, but I feel like watching this series, you got a really good feel of the difference between where these teams are right now. Where you go, the Dodgers are a World Series contender. The Mets are trying to sneak into the playoffs right now, and it couldn't have been more evident in this series.
Yeah, it couldn't have been more evident on a play where Drew Smith gets a guy out and James McCann misses to throw back to him, allows Chris Taylor to advance from second to third, and allows another sacrifice fly to be hit right the pitch after. Not the pitch, the at-bat. Just the little things that we've known all year that the Mets do not do. They proved how important they could be when they face a team who does every single one of them.
Yes. Now, some positives here. The team did fight back. They did show a little heart. It made at least Met fans, I think, feel good about the rest of the series, a little bit of a different note from where it started in this game. But I think it's so funny how the guys who didn't start the game got this rally started with Dom, Conforto, McNeil basically being a huge part of that late rally.
Yeah, literally, especially because Dom and McNeil got their hits off of a left-handed reliever, Justin Brule. I have to however you pronounce that guy's name, the fucking pencil pusher. The first 6 innings were so bad that I left the seat I was originally in, and I snuck into section 12, just tippy-toed past a bunch of guards who were not paying attention. And it was what a wonderful seat that was. It was the only downside was that those are the seats that are like cushiony and leathery, and it was so hot that like you're just dripping sweat sitting in the leather, which was a hilarious downside to that. But it's even more hilarious that inning started with James McCann and Kevin Pillar getting out almost immediately, and this entire rally with the actual starters happening with 2 outs. Like every single thing has still gone wrong, and even the rally itself, there was one hard hit ball. Malcolm Ford laced a double to start it, and that was off Brusdar Gratterall, who somehow can't get people out this year, even though he throws 102 miles an hour, which
he makes
beyond
no sense.
Doesn't make any sense. But that moment in time, that half-hour rally, was really the bright spot of this series. That was so much fun. Citi Field was electric. I really felt like the Mets were going to win. Dom and McNeil both had great at-bats. When Pete came around to score in that wild pitch, the place erupted. I haven't heard it like that literally all season, probably since opening day.
Yeah.
And it felt good. For a moment, I felt like maybe this team wasn't as bad as they've been over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, Pete gave us like the David Wright almost after Wright scored against the Nationals, where he came up.
It was the David Wright.
He was screaming, he was pumped. Like, I thought that this team was going to be able to pull it back. I thought we were going to get a little magic from the Mets here. But as we know, the guys who lead this team offensively, that's pretty much all it's come from. So once their spot in the lineup went by, that was it. It was hard to get anything going again because we just didn't have competent hitters.
Definitely. And I want to talk more about the 8th, 9th, and top of the 10th inning first, but you really felt that strongly when the bottom of the 10th inning came around. Because the way the lineup was configured once they actually brought their starters in, Conforto was like the de facto leadoff man, the 7-hole, and it went all the way around until McNeil was up 3, and then it went down to the 4 spot, who I believe was JD, and then VR 5, and then you had the whoever was still playing in the outfield. I believe at this point it was Pillar, possibly, I don't recall. But then you had the McCann and Nido back-to-back spots, because you had McCann in the proverbial 8 spot as the lineup reconfigured, and Nido was the last man off the bench, because we used all of our bench players to start the game, and then we had to bring in our real players in the middle of the game, so there's no one left to pinch hit at the end of the game, which is some really good lineup configuration there. And you could just like track the dead spot in the order. And when the bottom of the 10th inning came around, the Mets were down by 2 runs. I looked at my dad, who I was at the game with, and I was like, this literally will come down to Jonathan VR, James McCann, Tomas Nido. One of them has to get a hit. One of them has to. And none of them did.
No, I mean, like, VR can only do so much for us. He's clearly, like, our best guy off the bench and has been huge this year for us. But the other 2 guys, man, the catching spot, McCann, he's just, like, so not very good.
He's so not good.
He's so
crazy
not
bad.
good. He's just regressed so hard back to where he was in Detroit. And I don't remember what point in the game he got a hit, and it was either Ron or Keith again. I don't remember who was doing the game. I was kind of all over the place here in Boston. But I remember them talking about, they're like, yeah, McCann's going well when he takes that ball to right field. I'm like, dude, McCann got beat there. That's not him taking it to right field. Like, that was a fastball middle in that he inside outed. Like, that wasn't a good swing. I just don't know what value we're going to be able to get out of these catchers. And when we just kind of scrap it and say, whatever, it's $10 million a year with McCann, like, we got to find somebody else.
That's basically where we're at right now. And that difference was not more stark until we got to this series. And Will Smith just completely dicked the Mets down for 3 games.
We have 3 home runs?
3 home runs. He had 5 RBIs before the onslaught of position players pitching in the 8th, 9th inning of Sunday night. So I'm not sure what he actually ended up with. He almost won 2 games single-handedly for the Dodgers. And he is one of the best offensive catchers in baseball. Yeah. I would almost anoint him that already at this point in his young career. He was the reason the Dodgers were comfortable trading a top prospect like Keibert Ruiz, a fantastic all-around player, to acquire Max Scherzer and Trey Turner as part of the deal with Josiah Gray. But it couldn't be more clear that he comes up, first of all, in the 3-hole for one of the best lineups in baseball, and can stare plus relievers in the eye. Taijuan Walker is throwing a gem to jump ahead and just get around on a ball like a true star.
Yeah.
I haven't seen James McCann do that in months.
James McCann has not gone around on a ball all year.
He got around on the ball a couple times in early June when he was hot, and Tomas Nido did in April and May when he was hot. But those 2 guys, since the beginning of July, are just completely incompetent at the plate. And it really shows that the Mets have a complete dead spot in this order day in and day out.
Yeah. I mean, it was a frustrating game because there really was such a chance. Such a chance, and the bullpen kept us close too. Castro has been looking great. Drew Smith doing some stuff for us. Yancy Diaz has been nice in his little scenarios. And even Edwin was locked down in a non-save situation.
We have to give the RIP to Drew Smith, our boy Drew Flo, because it seems like his IL stint with shoulder inflammation is a bad sign for a guy who's really struggled with arm problems in the past. at best is going to be a month on the shelf and then probably just be shut down for the year based on how this team is going. But thank you, Drew Smith, this year for really, for one, making us look really good in the Mets'd podcast, for calling you out as being a future high-leverage reliever for this team, and two, just being an all-around great guy.
Yeah, of course. It stinks to see him hit the IL like that.
Yeah. Especially because we need them. Mets bullpen is beleaguered, and Drew Smith was a really saving grace for us. But the guys who were healthy pitched really well. Like you said, Castro's all the way back. Yancy Diaz has actually proven to be a piece. He's probably going to assume that Drew Smith role of being the unexpected high-leverage reliever now. And Edwin had a fantastic inning, aided by a spunky young fan out there down the third base line with the widest, fattest laser pointer I've seen since the 90s.
Yeah, that was wild. I've never seen something like that ever. Being
in this ballpark, we didn't really have any idea what was going on. I thought it was just Max Muncy being like a douchebag like he usually is. So there was a lot of boos going on, a lot of fuck Max Muncy chants. And I just really liked that Edwin didn't let it phase him. And he got 0-2. Because I really thought that since Edwin was having a really good inning after the leadoff walk to Billy McKinney, that Muncy was trying to pull some bullshit like he does because he's a snake oil salesman. And and just get Diaz off his roll. But the fact that Diaz made the pitch on 0-2 after a 5-minute delay, I was like, all right, fuck yeah, he's still involved. And he also made a great play in that bunt because after the leadoff walk, Dodgers sent Austin Barnes up to pinch hit to drop a bunt down, which is kind of a funny move. Edwin leapt off the mound and made a fantastic play moving towards first base. It was great. I got in a fight with a dude behind me because Section 12, those are the rich people. Those are not my people. I was really down there ready to start biting heads off, and he was talking about how much Edwin sucks, how we're going to lose the game. And I'm like, are you a fucking Dodgers fan? Are you here rooting for the other team? Why in the world are you saying this out loud, in my presence right now? I was so mad at this dude. I was pissed at him. I was screaming. His girlfriend gave me yeah, you're right.
I like to picture that you snuck into the rich guy fancy section and you're giving it to some guy, not staying low profile at all. You're like, who cares? If I get kicked out, I get kicked out.
The Mets had made this massive comeback in the 7th inning right when I snuck down there. If that had not happened, I would have gone further because I was just so mad. I'm going to get as close as possible. I want someone to hear me. I was right where Pete was screaming and pumping up the fans. I was jacked up at this point in the game. And I love Edwin Diaz. I'm probably the leader of the Edwin Diaz fan club. He's good, especially watching a guy like Liam Hendricks completely blow up over a 2-week stretch in Chicago. These closers, it's fickle business here with these high-leverage relievers. So I get very annoyed when a Mets fan who's at a Mets game is talking badly about the Mets. In a game where the Mets had just made a 4-run comeback. Maybe last night, you could say whatever you want. Our guy Bobby Blunt's on Twitter said he had a lot of things to say to everyone in the ballpark. That's fair. But the Mets were tied 4-4 with the Dodgers in the 9th inning after a miraculous 2-out rally. Let's be positive for this moment in time, please, God.
Yes. And now it's time to get negative because my guy Jerry Familia gave up a moonshot to Will Smith because Will Smith's really, really good. Now, you think that pitch was down the middle. I think that pitch was up and in.
I said middle in.
I thought it was a better pitch than that. You're making it seem like it was fat.
It was one of those things where Yari's Familia throws a sinker in the wrong spot and it winds up in the really wrong spot.
Yes, I can give you that. It wasn't a good spot, but I still think a little more credit to Will Smith for hitting that pitch as far as he did.
A little bit more, but that was still a pitch that I would not expect a great result from that pitch. A sinker that winds up inside on the belt, which is basically where it ended up. And again, credit to Will Smith. The guy's crazy wrists. He got around that ball like nothing else. And I think a lot of people were pretty frustrated that this was not Aaron Loop pitching this inning, especially with Familia pitching his 3rd consecutive day and Aaron Loop pitching about 3 innings in the last week. As statistically our best reliever this season, that was a little bit confusing.
Yeah, especially because Will Smith does not hit lefties well. So I'm going to get on Rojas for that one. I agreed. I thought it should have been Loop. I was surprised it wasn't, especially when you take a deeper look into the numbers. The initial reaction, you go, the righties are coming up. You got to go with Familia. But we know the deeper you go into these numbers, they struggle against the lefties. So that was a weird call there. It was just a weird game management-wise. I mean, from the lineup to the Loop thing at the end,
yeah,
the lineup you think is not Rojas's call. We just have been under that assumption all year. He's not making the lineups. But seemingly he's making the calls to the bullpen, and that was a pretty bad one.
Yeah, this was a frustrating call, especially just considering how effective Aaron Loop has been. It seems like the Mets don't really love using him to start high-leverage innings, which is kind of a weird stipulation for a reliever who's so good. And Familia, I don't know, Will Smith just beat him on a pitch. And the Mets had a chance. The Mets got a run in the bottom of the inning. It was just, again, came down to McCann and Nido. Neither of them could do even anything.
No. And what was funny is I think I texted you, like, the difference between Will Smith and Nido, which is, like, a very simplified way to explain it. But they essentially got the same pitch. Kenley Jansen threw that same pitch, 91, and Jerry Familia threw it 96 with sink. Will Smith hit it yard. Tomas Nido hit a weak pop-up to shallow left field. It's a difference between those two guys offensively.
Yeah. And there's a big difference between those two guys offensively, and it really showed. The Mets catching position is such a black hole right now. It's so frustrating that they dumped $10 million into this position and got nothing out of it. It makes me so mad. I was like pacing this weekend talking about JT Realmuto. My dad's like, take it easy. It's true. Like this was the position you had to upgrade, and it sucks that James McCann is so mediocre for $10 million. It's such a frustrating fact that we're going to have to deal with for 3 more seasons.
Yeah, he's just, like I said, completely regressed back to the Tiger days, and it is not going to get better anytime soon because he's only going to be getting older, and that typically doesn't work well for catchers. So really, really disappointing way to end Game 1, but they fought back, and it had you feeling good going into Game 2, and the start of Game 2 was pretty solid too because Taijuan silenced everybody. It got real quiet. The Taijuan Walker haters, I don't even want to say haters because we're not haters. We were just kind of...
No, I don't hate Taijuan Walker. I just thought he was tired.
We were a little more of the truthers, I think, of like, hey, his arm is just like physically not prepared to pitch this much, but he silenced everybody, and he was money to start this game.
To use a phrase I use a lot, he gutted one out. Taijuan Walker went on the mound. It almost had like a playoff atmosphere after the way the Mets lost Game 1, the way they were reeling, especially after Jerry Koosman's number was retired, which is nice for the Coos, long time coming. But Taijuan needed this, the Mets needed this, and he fucking delivered, man. He went pitch for pitch with Walker Buehler, one of the Cy Young favorites in the National League, one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. And it was very interesting that he made some major adjustments as to how he was pitching during this cold spell, and even adjustments from how he was pitching during his massive hot streak. He completely pulled the 2-seamers out of his repertoire, which is shocking because of how effective a pitch that is. But if you've listened to this podcast or a lot of other really deep, statistically rooted baseball podcasts out there, you'll know that the 4-seamer league-wide is much more effective than 2-seamer, and this adjustment worked like a damn charm. That 4-seamer got all the called strikes the 2-seamer used to get with 11, also had 3 whiffs in the game, good for a 39% CSW rate, which is elite. And the other adjustment Taijuan made was really upping the use of his split change. He'd been using just more fastballs overall over the first half of the season and a lot more sliders. He got 7 whiffs on 15 swings with that split change. He was using it very, very effectively to come low and inside to the Dodgers' right-handed power bats. And until like the 7th inning, it fooled everybody. It was a great pitch. It was a great pitch, and it was just electric to watch like him get with the crowd and really, I don't want to say turn back the clock because it was just like 2 months ago, but just like really rediscover that all-star form that made him so successful in the first half.
What did he have, a no-hitter through 7?
Into the 6th, I believe.
Into the 6th, okay, yeah.
Or maybe through 6. I think it was through 6, and the 7th was when he gave up the hits and the home run. Yeah,
I think that's what it was. He was really good. He was really, really good. That's what we needed from Taijuan. In a big game, he stepped up for us. If you had any doubts about this guy, I think he silenced them quite a bit. Still, to expect this every single game he goes out there, unrealistic still, I think, for the rest of the season. But it shows you that there are still some bullets left in that gun, in that tank, and that he's not done yet. He's not done yet by any means.
No. It's just funny. I think I might have been dubbed like a Taijuan hater on Twitter because people were like tweeting at me like, oh, you think Taijuan's done? I was like, I never said Taijuan was done. You clearly don't listen to anything I say. I love Taijuan Walker. I repeatedly called him the best free agent signing of the offseason. But again, I didn't think he would be able to pull back and do this, and he did. A lot of people in the fantasy baseball community were like, oh, bench Taijuan Walker. I was like, no fucking shit, you bench Taijuan Walker. He looked dead for a month and a half, and he was facing the Dodgers. Like, you can't hold that one against you. Like tip your hat sometimes.
No, and of course the guy who breaks everything up was Will Smith again, because
Will Smith, he's just super good.
He's just going to be the thorn in our side now on that Dodgers lineup as they start to get closer and closer to being competitive with each other throughout the years now with the Mets, as we hope to be one of those teams at the top. I'm sure Will Smith's going to be a thorn in our side every single time we face him now.
He's throwing everybody's side, dude. The guy's incredible. He is one of the most impressive young hitters in baseball, position aside. He can't play a good defensive catcher, but the Dodgers don't really care about that in the slightest.
No, he did, and that, weirdly going back to Game 1 here, just jumping around a little bit, that was a huge reason why Pete was able to score on that pass ball.
Yeah,
Will Smith is bad defensively, but At the plate, he mashes. Conforto, home run. That was cool. That was nice.
Yeah, I really haven't seen him turn on a ball like that in like a whole year.
It's been
so it was pretty cool to see him get around on something.
Long time. But that was pretty much it. That's all the.
It wasn't pretty much it. That was like literally.
That's all the offense did.
We had like 4 hits otherwise.
Yeah, offense
Ridiculous.
did not do much. Walker Buehler, though, like you said, is sick. So like if there is a pitcher to not hit, I mean the Dodgers unfortunately have like 4 of them. But Walker Buehler, like I understand being stymied by him because he is sick.
Yeah, definitely. But also, like, the Mets are stymied by everybody. And, like, all the starters played this game. People said it was like, oh, look, the starters played. He still can't hit. All right, well, Walker Buehler fucking pitched. I get it. It's just, like, you can't get 2 runs. You can't get, like, 6 hits. You can't string anything together. You can't work a walk. And the other frustrating part was that the Dodgers bullpen was beleaguered. I've used that word, like, 4 times today, probably because I'm a little bit beleaguered. The Dodgers had not many active relievers going into this game on Saturday night, and the Mets were just swinging at everything, playing right into Walker Buehler's hands, making a lot of easy outs. He had like 58 pitches through 5, and I was like, fuck.
The one time the Mets decide to not be patient is when the Dodgers have no bullpen.
And the Mets do have pretty good statistics this year when making contact with the first pitch. Like they're just, I mean, I guess that's kind of a skewed stat because when you make contact with the first pitch, probably a pretty good pitch. But I don't know. I just wish that there would have been like an absolute like mood inside their mind, not a mood, like a plan or a strategy in their heads, like take pitches, take pitches, take pitches, take pitches. But even though they did take pitches, guys like Phil Bickford came in the game and made them look foolish on at bat after at bat.
To be fair, Phil Bickford has been kind of nice this year, but like that's just the entire Dodgers team. You go there and you're just good.
Yeah, well, like it's kind of ironic also that everyone was like, all right, we gotta get to the Dodgers bullpen, get to the Dodgers bullpen. It's their B team bullpen. Their Dodgers B team bullpen's still sick.
Yeah.
I can't deal with Phil Bickford. The guy just looks like white trash.
Yes.
Like he looks like he belongs in a trailer park. I saw someone put the meme on Twitter. I think it was a Dodgers fan who I follow. You know that weird picture of like the dude with the long hair, straggly hair, and like weird skinny fat guy like walking on the beach with one arm up and one arm down? That's Phil Bickford. That's what it looks like. And he's just breaking off that slider, and the Mets hitters looked like they'd never seen a breaking ball in their lives.
No, they struggled mightily. Just didn't get the offense going, and it's a shame because the bullpen and the pitching did well again. Castro and Lugo, again, you said it earlier, Castro is so back, and Lugo looked clean again.
Super clean. And a lot of people on Twitter, I think, and just in the world alike, were frustrated that Yency came out for that 10th inning and not Lugo for a second. But I honestly don't hate that decision at all. I thought that was truthfully the right move by Dave Joust because Luis Rojas got ejected because that's what he does now when the Mets need a spark.
Yeah, Rojas loves getting tossed, and I love that. I love like a little Bobby Cox fire in you where it's like if nothing's going, I'm going to try to make something happen.
Yeah, why not? Like, take a shower, get a beer. But Seth Lugo, as we've said in this podcast a few times, has struggled mightily when he pitches a second inning this year. He's finished a second inning in 4 outings in 2021, and he's given up at least 1 earned run in 3 of them.
Yeah, it's not good.
Not good. And Yency came out there and didn't give up an earned run. All he did was give up the inherited runner. He kind of bared down, and it was all because it was just Cody Bellinger who hit a laser down the line, Mr. 180 Bellinger. So, like, I can't really fault him for giving up 1 run in the extra innings. I fault the Mets for not scoring 1 run in the bottom of the inning. Like, it's just because James McCann and Brand Drury were coming up. Like, what are you going to do? These aren't real hitters.
How many times have we come up in situations where we, like, desperately need runs, and it's McCann, Nito, Drury, pitcher spot, whatever it is, like, every time. It's never Nimmo, McNeil, Alonso. Never.
And it's also ironic that last week we were talking about the fact that Soto came up in all 3 games with a chance to, like, win it or at least tie it. We think, I mean, Nimmo did come up in this inning, and he just grounded out to end the game, but 2 outs and a man on second. You just wish that James McCann could have moved the guy over with 2 outs. Like, he loves to go that way, apparently. Why couldn't you just hit the fucking ground ball, man? It's so annoying.
I don't know, man. Frustrating stuff. Oops. But yeah, bad loss, which brought us into Game 3. And Game 3 is going to be real quick. We're gonna glance over this one. The Mets got smacked 16-4, whatever the final score was. We talked
about it wound up being 14-4.
We talked about Drury and Pilar pitching, so you can kind of draw the lines here and connect the dots of what happened in this game. Mets just got stomped. Carlos Carrasco, for the 3rd straight start, I think, has given up a first inning home run.
Yep.
And he's a slow starter, but like I'm frustrated. But I also, like, if there's anybody I'm not going to get frustrated at, it's Carlos Carrasco because of what he's gone through this season and recently. And I'm sure there's going to be people that are pissed at Carrasco and pissed at us for not being like, this guy stinks, he's got to be better. But, like, dude, he probably shouldn't even really be pitching. Like, if the Mets had DeGrom and Syndergaard back, which we thought, like, we would right now, Carrasco's probably still not pitching this year.
Or at least he's pitching in more of, like, a swingman role. And like these home runs that Carrasco has given up in the first inning, it was Jonathan India, who is now one of the best hitters in baseball, which was a great call by me. Juan Soto, who is one of the best players in baseball. And this one was, I think, Muncy and Justin Turner hit home runs, who have been the best hitters in baseball for a couple of years now. So it's not, and I guess that's the nature of first inning home runs because you're facing the top of an order. So I guess it's a pretty stupid point by me. But these aren't like first inning home runs to, I don't know, like Hoy Park and I don't want to say Stark Castro, I cancel him, but whoever else hits in the top of the Nationals order these days besides Juan Soto. These are like legit all-stars that are hitting home runs off Carlos Carrasco. And the guy's rusty. It's like his 4th star of the year. Like, it's going to take kind of a long time. You're not going to walk back and just be elite. I know Chris Sale was, and you saw that firsthand in Boston, but Chris Sale's better than Carlos Carrasco. Chris Sale's younger than Carlos Carrasco. Chris Sale throws harder than Carlos Carrasco.
He also faced the Orioles, so...
He also faced the Orioles,
Cedric Mullins that day.
There you go. Like, even that's easy. And it's not going to get easier for Carlos Carrasco because his next start is going to come again against these Dodgers in Los Angeles next weekend. But I just have a lot of trouble being very frustrated with the way Carlos Carrasco's pitched, just because of the fact that he is actually pitching.
Yes. No, I think it'd be foolish to be upset at him. You want to be upset about something in the series, it shouldn't be Carrasco pitching, because at the end of the day, still, Mets scored 4 runs in a game that wasn't competitive. So if this game was close, it feels like the Mets probably scored 2 again. The offense just didn't show up again. And now we're facing Max Scherzer, who is a probably top 3 pitcher in baseball, right? I think that's where you got to put him.
Yeah. At least 5.
Yeah.
Depends where you put Walker Buehler, I guess.
Yeah, but like who we faced the night before, like this team's just so not fair. But Scherzer's always been good against the Mets, and he didn't necessarily have his best stuff, but it just shows you that he is.
He didn't really need it.
Yeah, he doesn't need it.
We haven't beat Max Scherzer in Citi Field since 2016.
I think I was at that game.
Really? 5 full years. Yeah. And he threw 7 innings of 2-run ball with 10 strikeouts.
Wasn't that against Syndergaard? And I think Syndergaard gave up 1 run in that game. Like I think it was like a big duel or whatever. Huh. It's tough to beat Scherzer. It really is. So I'm not giving Mets excuses, but like, damn, it would be cool for this team to step up like one time.
It'd be sick. It was also interesting that when Carrasco very clearly didn't have it, like it seemed like he was going to come out of this game early, and the Mets were ready to concede. And I was a man on or 2 men on the bottom of the second inning when the game was still like 6-1 or like 4-2 or something like that. And Carrasco went up there himself to bunt. The Mets gave up an out and a situation where there was a potential rally. And then either I think Nimmo McNeil, we got out immediately afterwards. Then Carrasco still came out of the game for Jake Reed. And then someone asked Carrasco after the game, like, why'd you go up there to bunt for yourself in the second inning? And he said, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, that was a weird call. It made no sense.
That's not the goal, especially when the player, I guess, like, you have a short bench always because the Mets just don't have any good bench players anyway. So maybe you don't want to burn a guy in the second inning. But the guy you didn't want to burn was probably Kevin Pillar, and he wound up pitching. So maybe you might well just have let him hit.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it is what it is. One positive take from this game, Jake Reed. Some funky little stuff. Looks solid. I think he's earned himself another appearance on this team. Jeff Hartlieb, that needs to end. I don't need to see Jeff Hartlieb pitch ever again. Goodbye. He's not good. He's just bad. No. He's just not good. The Pirates didn't want him. That's all you need to know. They said, please, Jeff Hartlieb. No, thank you.
I was at the bar with my dad last night on vacation. He's like, where'd they even get this Hartlieb guy? I said, the Pirates cut him. He said, are you serious? I was like, yep.
We should be uninterested in guys the Pirates don't want.
No, very uninterested. And then, the Pirates actually picked up our boy Banda, and he's been pitching.
Oh, he's been doing well, I think, yeah.
He's doing fine. He's probably doing better than Jeff Hartlieb.
I think my biggest issue with this game has nothing to do with what happened on the field, but what's happening later. And that is that the fact that the Mets played a Sunday night game against the Dodgers on the East Coast, and then immediately have to travel to the West Coast to go play the Giants the next day, no off day. That's insane. That's nuts. Noah Syndergaard made an entire Instagram post about it. He was like, fuck you, MLB.
Yeah, I tweeted about it last night too because it's ridiculous. I was so mad about this last week, but I was like, I'm going to hold it because it's not going to be hot yet. So I scheduled a tweet. I never do this. I scheduled a tweet for Sunday at like 6:15 just to watch it go. And like the Dodgers are doing this too, which is even stupider. But I guess no, they're not bitching because I think they're playing the Diamondbacks at home tonight. So whatever. Or the Pirates. They're playing the Pirates at home tonight. The Mets landed in San Francisco at 5 o'clock this morning. And they usually, when something like this would happen in baseball, like you'll send your pitcher ahead of time, just give him his own charter, just so he can rest up. But I think that the COVID protocols didn't allow that to happen. So Rich Hill, old 42-year-old Rich Hill, did not sleep. He's pulling an all-nighter before pitching against the best team in baseball.
It's not going to lead well. Do you want to lead into the preview here of playing the Giants?
We do. There's a couple more housekeeping things I wanted to say before.
Okay.
The Mets got their 13th sack fly of the season, the sixth inning last night, so that's great. Everyone remember the 1971 San Diego Padres. The Mets are going for the record for fewest sack flies in the season, so everyone keep an eye on that one. And Dominic Smith walked for the first time in August last night. That's I saw that, my jaw dropped.
That's disgusting. It's August 15th, yesterday.
Yes. It literally he's played almost every game this month. Probably played about 13 consecutive games without walking.
That's so bad. That's Javi Baez levels.
That's even worse. Javi Baez has walked at least once since he came to the Mets in August.
Yeah, it's a good point. Oh, man. I don't even want to think about that. And now, obviously, Lindor, the hole there, too. I saw this on Twitter as well. Mets are 12-18 without Lindor. As much as we want to say, we're missing DeGrom, which that's obvious. He's the stopgap.
Yeah.
He's the one who stops these losing streaks. But Lindor is clearly such an integral part of this team that even when he's playing poorly, we still need him. So, enough about that Dodgers series. Let's preview the Giants one here. This is, I think, probably our closest, talent-wise, outside of the NL East to compare ourselves to, which is weird to say because they're the best team in baseball. But I think, when you look at their roster construction, you go, the Mets could win some games there. I mean, we're not beating the Dodgers right now. We're not beating the Brewers, probably, if we face them again. Maybe the Giants. I don't even feel good saying that. I'm just trying to not be negative because while I took a little bathroom break here for this episode, I was sitting and I was like, man, the Mets are really just going to maybe make the playoffs and then, we're out. It's just not feeling good.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen past that, but I'm just want to warn Mets fans for how this Giants series is going to feel because we're going to get Lamont weighted and Darren Ruffed and Brandon belted and Evan Longoria just completely to
Wilmer
death.
Flores is going to come back and kill us a little bit, I'm sure. Maybe.
Well, he's 100% going to get a big hit tonight off Rich Hill, the lefty. He's probably going to hit third because the Dodgers are the kings of platoons.
Giants.
I did that twice already. God,
it's all right.
The Giants are going to be so frustrating. I love the Giants team from a standpoint of analytical team building, just because they have found some market inefficiencies. Farhan Zaidi had an interview last week where he mentioned the fact that he thinks that he got ahead of everyone else in baseball in terms of understanding a new model for the aging curve. And that's how he was able to sign a lot of guys between the ages of 30 and 35 for probably cheaper than market value and still able to get a ton of production out of them. And you look up and down this Giants roster, and it's a lot of guys who other teams have more or less given up on. Between, again, Lamont Wade, Wilmer Flores, Darren Ruff, Brandon Belt, who most people in baseball would tell you he's never been good, yet he's been above average for 8 consecutive years now in the Giants. Buster Posey has returned to all-star form. Kirk Casale has been a very good backup for them. Evan Longoria has returned to form. Brandon Crawford, while he's had a very bad second half, is having a very good season overall.
Yastrzemski.
Yastrzemski was basically in a platoon now, even though he came into the season as the best player on the team. You're going to be so mad watching this series, especially waiting up till 9:45 to watch these games. Good, thank God it's not 10:10. That's a big half hour. But Mets fans are going to be so fucking upset, especially when Kevin Gausman, who's historically been awful, who's great, Logan Webb, who's never been good, who's incredible, and Anthony DeSclafani, who's historically been awful and is now very good. You're going to be so mad inning after inning, especially when Jake McGee comes in to close a game and he's throwing 100% 93 miles an hour fastballs. No one can touch them. Tyler Rogers is submarining sinkers, and you're going to be like, what the hell is happening? But this is just the Giants' experience. The Mets have been lucky to avoid them until August 16th. I'm going to be so mad watching these games because they seem also winnable, but the Giants are secretly so fucking good.
Yeah, the Giants are a little Rays West. They're a little Oakland A's-like in that their lineup will not make you go, oh man, Cody Bellinger, Mookie Betts, Max Muncy, Justin Turner. Like you said, it's going to be Wilmer Flores, Steven Duggar, Darren Ruff. None of these names.
Duggar went down.
Oh, okay, good. Fuck that guy. I hate Steven Duggar. But that's a personal vendetta. Not important. It's going to be frustrating. And normally when we see Gabe Kapler in the other dugout, we salivate and we go, this guy's an idiot. This guy sucks. But his micromanaging is so perfect for this team because that's how they need to be handled. And it has worked for them to be the clear and best team in baseball this year. Not going to be fun series. Not going to be fun.
No. His micromanaging really works out because he's supposed to micromanage. I'm sure Farhan Zaidi and all of the brilliant analysts that the Dodgers have working for them give Gabe Kapler these massive spreadsheets before the game of every single matchup to use. So we're going to get platoon so bad. You're going to see a completely different lineup on Monday compared to Tuesday for the Giants because they will make sure that they have the advantage in every single game that they are in. And they do that with platoons.
Well-run organization. I gave them a lot of crap in the past for keeping guys like Posey, Longoria, Brandon Bell, keeping the old guys around, but it has paid off in dividends this year. I don't know how. I don't know why. I really don't understand it. I don't know how Brandon Crawford all of a sudden is having the best year of his career by and large. Like, that guy stunk for like 6 years.
I've told you this off air, and I've tweeted about this before, but the Giants employ the most coaches in professional baseball. And they seem to employ some very good ones because they've retaught every single guy in this team how to hit. I'll say his name for the fourth time, Lamont Wade. Lamont Wade is historically just bad at baseball. His OPS is like over 1,000 this month. He is the leadoff hitter for the best team in baseball. He has like 10 or 12 home runs on the season. He was literally a scrap heap pickup for the Giants. I'm pretty sure a minor league contract in the offseason. And the guy's playing at an all-star level. Like, whatever model the Giants are using to perform to this level, every team in baseball should copy it. It's astounding how they're doing this, even without a crazy payroll, without any expensive players in the entire roster. It's shocking.
It is shocking, and this series has the potential to be the nail in the coffin for the Mets, I think, especially because after that, we have the Dodgers and Giants again. So there's a really good chance here that the Mets are playing for their life this season, that this might be the last meaningful series the Mets play all year, which is super, super depressing to say with how we came into the season. But also, we didn't expect to have Lindor out for this extended period of time. We didn't expect DeGrom to be shut down. No Syndergaard up to this point. Carrasco to come back late. Not making excuses, but this season ended up looking a lot different than we expected. This is a series. This is the most important series of the year by far if the Mets want to continue to be competitive in the National League, in the NL East, and have a shot, which is crazy to say because they're only 2.5 out of first place, but it feels like 1,000 more, especially with the games that are still coming. Yeah. This series, they have to win. They have to take 2 of 3 if they want a shot, I think.
A 6-game losing streak with 7 more ahead against the Dodgers and Giants would really, really make me sad.
Yeah, you're going to see the podcast has been a roller coaster of emotions all year, highs and lows. It will be like a funeral on Wednesday or Thursday if they lose this.
Wednesday night would be a sad episode.
Well, I feel like that's probably where we want to wrap this one up here, right? It's a little short one. It's a little quick one, but the boys are on the road. And really, at the end of the day, the Mets just got beat by the Dodgers. The Dodgers are in a different class than us. Mets fans, we want to be positive. We want to stay happy and excited. But I think this series showed us more than ever that this Mets team is not ready to be a World Series contender. We are trying to sneak into the playoffs in the worst division in baseball, and we are struggling. We're in third place right now. So I'm not going to give up hope that we can't make the playoffs, but I do think that it's going to be really hard. So this series is going to be huge. James, what do you got for me?
The first year that Frank McCourt took over the Dodgers and the Magic Johnson group, they went 86 and 76, and they came in second place in division. And they've won every single division since.
We had high expectations, but I think we have to remember that this is a process. It's going to take a little bit of time. So we got to get our guys in there, got to get the right people in charge, got to let Steve Cohen maybe spend a little more money this offseason.
More money. I like that.
Yeah, just a little bit more, please, Steve. I know you got those pockets. Let's open them up next year. But end of the day, Mets, Giants, most important series of the year. Hopefully we can come out of it feeling good. If not, it's going to be a somber episode. You'll have to listen to it, though. Episode number 42 of the Mets'd podcast next Wednesday, Thursday, after the San Francisco Giants series. That's where we're going to wrap up this one, though, the Tom Seaver episode number 41 of the Mets'd podcast. Make sure you're following us on Twitter and Instagram, at Mets'd, on the YouTube channel, Mets'd podcast. James, Jeter Had No Range. Me, Mark, Giraffe Neck Mark on Twitter. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching, whatever you do. Keep supporting us. We really do appreciate it. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Mets'd podcast. Peace out.
Leave a rating and review, guys. Thanks a lot. Peace out.